Welcome to the Future Ready Spotlight podcast. My name is Jackney Prioli, Director of Future Ready Massachusetts with the Massachusetts Business Alliance for Education. On this episode of Future Ready Spotlight, we are joined by Dr. Felicia Griffin-Fennell, Director of the STEM Starter Academy at Springfield Technical Community College, where she prepares students to pursue STEM careers by introducing them to STEM experts, engaging them in hands-on activities, and providing intensive academic support. Dr. Griffin-Fennell holds a master's and PhD in clinical psychology, a bachelor's of science in psychology, and a graduate certificate in women's studies from the University of Connecticut. Dr. Felicia Griffin-Fennell, thank you for speaking with us today.
It's a pleasure to see you again, Jackney.
Pleasure to see you again as well. So, there are multiple STEM Starter Academies across the state. Can you tell us what exactly is a STEM Starter Academy and why this program is situated on the campus of Springfield Technical Community College?
All right. Well, first thing first, please just call me Felicia. I don't like to be so formal.
No problem.
But going back, Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo, wanted to create programming at the community colleges in an effort to increase the number of students entering into areas of study in STEM. And since we have a significant number of students who decide after high school to transition into community colleges for their various reasons, it seems like a good place to introduce students who may not have gotten sound footing when they're in high school, or who want additional support and guidance around understanding STEM and the opportunities that exist within STEM. So we are now, as a collective of community colleges, going into our second year of recruiting our classes. And the programs at the various community colleges do vary in terms of the populations that they are tackling, in terms of the kinds of programming that they create around STEM, as well as some of their summer activities where a lot of activity takes place. But the central goal across the community colleges is to get students excited about and curious about going into careers in academic areas in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, in order to increase the likelihood they're going to get graduates in these areas who either go directly into industry or go on to pursue higher levels of education, so that we can infuse the workforce with this needed population.
So you spoke a little bit to this. The Commonwealth has made great investments in STEM, and really there are various objectives to this program, the STEM research, education, and job and workforce development. How specifically is this program helping to meet these objectives?
Okay. So starting with the summer, when the students come in with us, we provide them with support in mathematics. And we often see with literature, as well as sort of anecdotal data, observational data that we've had, when students have their struggles in math, that's often where they decide whether they're going to stay in STEM or run from STEM. So as a part of our structure of our academy, we provide the students with a boot camp in mathematics, an effort to get them farther along in the curriculum, to get them to recognize more about what they have forgotten, or helping them remember things that they kind of pushed out of their heads in terms of mathematics, because students coming from high school have varying numbers of years that they've completed math. After they've done that, they move into one of 3 math courses here at STIC, which are Algebra 1, Algebra 2, 2 developmental math courses, and Tech Math 1, which is a college-level math course. In addition to those courses, the students this past summer also completed a course called College Success. It's kind of like a college prep class, where it exposes students to essentially what it means to be a college student. How is that different from what you've done in high school? Understanding what a syllabus is, understanding how important time management is given the responsibilities of school, home, work, what have you, in their own personal lives. And getting the students also exposed early to think about various career paths within STEM. So think about their own personal interests and how might those then map onto STEM careers. The students also participated in a team-taught course called Essentials of Engineering Technologies, where they learned beginning principles of engineering technologies. That course was co-taught by one of our faculty in engineering and one of our faculty in engineering technologies. Students also were able to take what they've learned in their math courses and apply it to what they were doing in that class.
I want to go back to something else you said earlier about the STEM Starter Academy being designed to engage students who haven't had the opportunity to delve deeply into STEM during their K-12 education. Why is it so important to engage these students?
A simple reason. Students tend not to go into areas, obviously, that they know nothing about. When we find that students, if they don't know something exists, they're not going to think about it as a career option for themselves. So by giving them these little snippets of different career opportunities, maybe mixing those with personal interests, whether they be music, art, what have you, it gets them to start expanding how they see STEM. Anecdotally, for me, whenever I've gone out to high schools and asked students, so what kinds of careers do you think exist within STEM? A lot of times they solely tell me a science teacher. So we throw this acronym out, but they don't quite know what that means, or potentially the plethora of opportunities that could mean for them. So part of our work here with STEM Starter is just getting the students exposed to learning what exists out there. Like, for instance, we gave the students a copy of this periodical called STEM Jobs, where it talked about, in that particular issue, how STEM is woven through the entertainment industry.
I would never think about that.
We don't classically think of those kinds of things.
So what kind of jobs are available in the entertainment industry around STEM?
For instance, so individuals who work in lighting, they have to be able to develop the technology in order to know how to cast that light on a particular performance, when to cast that light, what kinds of gears and mechanisms that they need in order to keep that operation going throughout a performance. That's STEM. That's sort of meshing together interests in theater, interests in art, and interest in technology or engineering.
That's really interesting. So this all seems a bit, I think, unorthodox, because you think about trying to get students when they're a lot younger, but you're really engaging students at some point right before they graduate from high school. So why does this work for your program?
Well, the idea is that there's never a wrong time to introduce students to understand what science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is all about. Yes, we have inundated students from young to be exposed to these things, but you can still provide them with doses of information as they move on. There are adults who don't know what these areas are. And being able to give that information, you may be able to turn on a light bulb in their heads and make them think about an alternate direction for their own personal lives. So I don't think there is any wrong time to give individuals any information about what their potential career paths could be or what potential career path exists in the world.
So I was looking at the demographics of the students in your program, and I know you mentioned to me before that about 63% of the participants last year were women. So it seems like this unorthodox approach is really attracting students who are traditionally interested in STEM fields. Why do you believe that is?
That's a question I've been asking myself a lot. We know that female students are less likely than male students to go into STEM and stay in STEM areas. I'm hoping that from what they've learned about STEM Starter Academy, their own curiosity, being able to work closely with the staff members that we have, I'm hoping that we're able to build for these female students in particular a sense of security, sort of like a safety net. A lot of times, especially for students of color and for female students, when they enter into these areas, they can often be the only one or the one of a handful going into these areas. And once they go farther and farther in their curriculum, they might find themselves seeing less and less of individuals who resemble themselves. And for a lot of students, that ends up being a part of the decision process in helping them figure out whether or not they want to stay in it, even though they may not have that support within those classes, or bail because I can't bear being the only one. Because some of the literature has suggested that there is intentional and unintentional negative experiences that these populations can experience when they are seen as the one who doesn't belong in these classes, or they don't feel supported by their other classmates or by the instructors of the class. So we here at STEM Starter want, if they feel uncomfortable in certain places, we at least want them to have a space here with our staff where they feel that's continued support and encouragement in order to continue with their curriculum.
I love that you're really kind of giving students a boost of confidence. You know, in our previous podcast, we spoke with Lisa Freed from iRobot about how they're building the STEM pipeline. And the challenge to that, we know, as you said, is some students might be intimidated either by the perceived difficulty of STEM subjects or being the only one pursuing this. But this program seems to knock down the mental barrier by having students get their hands dirty, trying and maybe failing, but gaining confidence through that process. It seems like your program is inspiring students to pursue STEM by giving them the skills and confidence they need.
That's what I'm hoping. We are still in our infancy. We're really young. We're going into our second year. But I can say that anecdotally with a few of my students, I have seen that confidence grow. I'll give you a story. I have a male student. He was one of the students, honestly, who day one didn't show up for the academy. And we decided to call every student who decided to no-show and find out what happened. And I managed to get him on the phone. And he had said that he really wanted to do it, but, you know, he was trying to get a job and he wasn't sure whether or not the time of the academy would fit in with his work schedule. And I said, well, we can figure out how to work around that. Do you really want to be here? I do. I think it's great. I want to do it. I said, well, come on. I want to see you the next day. He came the next day. He's a math major. And since that day, he's excelled. He has his moments where he kind of questions his decision process. You know, can I do this? Should I be in school right now? But that's where our staff is fabulous. We all rally behind the students. We give them that dose of tough love that they need, allowing them to understand that every individual has their moments of doubt. But it's a decision process. Do you stay in that doubt and let that completely cloud you over? Or you shake it off and keep going forward? And now he is doing fantastically in his classes. He's still a math major. I'm going to hold him to that.
That's great.
Hold him to that. And he's a tutor for our program.
That's a turnaround. Wow. From not showing up to now being a math tutor in the program. I think that speaks highly of the program.
And I think this also speaks highly of the students. I have a group of really good students who are determined, who see themselves in the future. They have future focus. They have aspirations for themselves. They want to see themselves beyond where they are currently.
And that's great, because that really speaks to one of our themes, which is kind of getting experience outside of the classroom. The program is preparing them for the type of STEM work they'll do in college, but also preparing them to look beyond the classroom. You're really providing them with real-world experience in the rigors of pursuing STEM field. If a student wants to apply to this program, what kind of experience should they be prepared for?
Well, I want students to come into STEM Starter hungry and eager to learn. You know, life is not a cakewalk. Life, there are struggles, but I want them to be able to recognize and accept that that's a reality, and still maintain the enthusiasm of moving forward. Maintain the enthusiasm of pursuing an academic path in STEM that makes themselves proud, that makes their families proud, and everyone else around them happy for the decisions that they've made. The students that we bring in, we want them to know that we're not going to settle. We want to push them. They may fight us, they may push back, but we see their potential. We want them to see it in themselves too.
So can you give us a little more information about the sort of hands-on exercises the students experience throughout the program? I know you spoke earlier about the students did an engineering project.
Yes. The Bridge project became a campus-wide activity where there's actual pictures of our president, even a couple of our vice presidents out with the students, hammering nails, cheering them on. In that class, they also built catapults where they launched tennis balls across the classroom at each other. A little questionable, a little dangerous. We need to reassess that for next summer. But then also, one of our tutors, she does workshops with students in getting them to see the fun in science. So she led a lot of activities where the students took everyday objects or everyday materials and transposed them into something fantastic. One day, one of the students came in and said, "I'm bleeding, I need help." And I'm freaking out. And I come to find out that he's made fake blood paint.
Ah.
Yeah. They created colorful bubbles using various materials, and they loved it. Those activities energized them. Even after a long day of taking classes, they looked forward to those activities. They've been telling me that they want more of those kinds of things during the summer. So we're trying to find ways to incorporate even more for them to do. During the academic year, we've had speakers come in. One of our speakers, Alejandro Briceño, he's a faculty member at UMass. He does work in polymer science. We have a speaker coming in this April, Dr. Nicole Wagner. She's from Connecticut, and she's the CEO and president of this company that does work on improving retinas in order to improve vision. Next week, we're having a screening of the documentary Underwater Dreams and bringing in the teacher of the award-winning team from 2004. It's an underdog story where this group of children of undocumented Mexican immigrants decide that they want to learn to build a robot. And this team went to this national competition and they beat every other team, including MIT's team
I remember hearing about this.
Yes. I think it's a fantastic tale on many levels. And it's a story that I have shared with the students, getting them to think that everyone has the potential for greatness, regardless of their circumstance. And these kids, they had a lot of things riding against them, yet they triumphed. My STEM starter scholars, as we affectionately call them, they are fantastic, and I want them to see themselves that way. They have the potential for greatness. They just need the nudge in the right direction.
Well, speaking of nudge, you mentioned a little bit earlier, in addition to providing them a strong foundation with the boot camp, the math, college prep, you also provide some enhanced supports to help make sure that students are successful in the program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. We have woven into our program our STEM coach. She sits with every single one of the students frequently to assess how things are going academically as well as personally. Because we know that whenever students have personal challenges, those personal challenges can also influence how they perform academically. So she is here in order to help them successfully navigate through those personal challenges in order to come out well on the other side academically. In the program, we also have tutors who serve as peer mentors to the students. Some of our tutors are current students themselves, so they show the students the ropes. They're the ones who've taken the students on tours of campus, showing them where's financial aid, where's the library, how do you get your parking pass. They gave the students an unofficial orientation to STIC. By the time the students were done over the summer, they knew STIC better than I do. They could tell me things that I didn't know. The coach and the peer mentor tutors, to me, they are the foundation of the program. Those are the elements that the students love having. And again, there are moments where we are tough with them, but we do it out of a place of concern and support. And while the students may groan about it, they come out the other end very content, and they talk positively about having had those experiences. In the academic year, we also continue working with the students with our STEM coach, and we provide tutoring services for them. We recently built for them a new tutoring suite where the students have a place to come study new furniture, carpeting, a really cool banner with our emblem. The students have completely embraced the room. They kick us out whenever we walk in. So they love having something that's theirs. And it only allows them to feel even more integrated and more invested on the campus.
So not just being part of the STEM Starter Academy, but also being part of the college campus.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So if there are students who might be interested in STEM and might be interested in a program like this, but might be hesitant to pursue it, what is your advice for them?
Do it. Just do it. Even some of the first cohort, they were a little nervous about coming into STEM Starter Academy, but all the things that they were able to get out of it, it was an opportunity that they just couldn't pass up. Being able to get a jump start on the curriculum, that's huge. Having someone provide you with the opportunity for free to do that, that's significant.
And I think that's something we didn't quite mention, but that all of this is free to the student.
Yes. Yes. Every single student who walks into the academy, they are given free classes, free transportation to our various field trips. We fed them every day. We gave them free textbooks. We gave them free supplies for the classes. We gave them supplies for projects that they had to complete for their classes. They even received a stipend for their time. Providing them with all of these resources, the only thing that they needed to give to us was their investment. And that's all I wanted. Their investment in themselves.
So for a student who might be interested in this program, what is the process? How can students apply and who can apply?
So right now we are beginning our second round of recruitment for our second cohort. We have an application process that they must complete. They can obtain applications via our website. And we're also going around to the local high schools through my staff as well as through our admissions staff and distributing applications to students. With the applications, there's also an essay that they must write describing for us via that essay how might STEM Starter Academy help them get to where they ultimately want to go. We also require the students to provide us a letter of recommendation from a faculty member from their high school. Again, for us to get a sense of what's the student like.
So it's kind of like a college application.
It is a college application. Not all students who apply will be granted admission. It is a selective process, but we still want students, even if they aren't able to be a part of the STEM Starter Academy, know that there are still resources on our campus, including resources that our staff provides, that we will provide to the students. They'd be able to use our tutors. They'd be able to participate in activities that we have here on the campus.
That's great. So you really allow a wide range of students to take advantage of these resources.
Yep. So even though at the Summer Bridge, we do have a select set of students who participate over the summer, activities that the students are engaged in during the academic year, that's open to the campus.
Well, Dr. Felicia Griffin-Fennell, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us such great insight into STEM Starter Academy at STIC.
Thank you for coming here and letting me just gush over STEM Starter Academy. I believe in my students, I believe in their potential, and I love being able to share with any and everyone how fantastic I think they are.
Our thanks to Dr. Felicia Griffin-Fennell. Students interested in applying to the STEM Starter Academy at Springfield Technical Community College can find the application at www.stcc.edu/STEM Academy. The deadline to apply is Friday, May 1st. For more information on the STEM Starter Academy program, visit www.mass.edu/STEM. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Future Ready Spotlight. You can learn more about Future Ready Massachusetts at www.futurereadyma.org. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This Future Ready Spotlight podcast was sponsored by Verizon.